Welcome everybody. We are recording and we are waiting for some other people to show up. Johnny Bishop. How you doing, John? Good morning, John. All right. Glad to see you.
Gee, everything's working.
I said a prayer last night. Al Berry. Nice to see you.
Morning, brother.
Good morning. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm sorry I'm late. I downloaded the app and a little bit slow this morning. I'm Al Barry. I'm part of Fairbanks 3 or 10 and off 3, enjoying the journey along Masonry, and just thought I'd explore the opportunities for
Excellent. Thanks
this
for coming.
opportunity.
All right, we're gonna wait a few more minutes to see how many people show up. Okay. John Bishop. Just
Yes.
do us all a favor. And it's okay. People are going to have noise and things in the background, but mute your mic if you're not speaking, because this is being recorded. So if Sean comes running in the room and wants to tell you something.
Okay.
I will ask one question. Oh, by the way, the chat window is open. If anybody wants to put something in there, go right ahead. You can raise your hand if you have a question at any point or a comment at any point during the presentation. Generally speaking, if there's a question or comment, raise your hand and then just wait until I'm done with the particular slide or anything that I'm on, and then we can go into a question or comment. I've never been a fan of everybody shut up and listen. I don't think it's a good way to learn. I think questions are the most important part of understanding. That's the way people learn things, is they're trying to understand it in their head, so they formulate a question, they go from there. Mark Foltz, welcome. Mark, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're from? Well, that one makes me feel good. How you doing, Ron Young? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, there we go. I'm doing okay. How about you?
Good. What's wrong with your hand?
Excuse me?
What's wrong with your hand?
Why?
Oh, because you have a big old black glove on it. Is that
Oh,
a
I
gamer
think.
glove? So you don't
Oh,
oh, you
no,
got
no,
gloves
no.
on. Okay.
Yeah, it's compression gloves. My arthritis is just really killing me.
Understandable.
Yeah.
And not quite sure what the name is, but 2511053406. Who are you? No, basically it's just, yeah, introduce yourself. Sorry.
Sorry, Brian Ward. I'm with 10 and all 3.
Oh, okay. Thanks for being here, Brian. All right. Okay, we're about 5 minutes in. We've got a few people. I'm going to go ahead and switch this over and get this started.
Okay.
Can everybody see this? Okay, this is a four-part presentation. The Quarry, the Arch, the Crypt, and the Temple. It's a York Rite presentation. The Blue Lodge is part of the York Rite in most of America. I think there's a few locations where Scottish Rite, the first 3 degrees are Scottish Rite degrees, but in most of America, the first 3 degrees of Masonry, or what I would call the Quarry, is the York Rite degrees. Um, the 4-part presentation is going to happen today for the Quarry, July 11th, which is 2 weeks from tonight, or 2 weeks from today at 8 a.m. July 11th will be the Arch. July 25th will be the Crypt, and August 8th will be the Temple. So every 2 weeks from today, every other week. And we'll be doing this at 8 o'clock in the morning. I figured that's a good time to get anybody who's east coasting it to come on in around about noon, and then anybody in Alaska can do their presentation and get back to the rest of their day. Like I said, this is an open presentation. If you have any questions, please raise your hand with the raise hand button. Wait till I'm done with the slide or whatever we're on, and then I will address any questions or comments that need to be said. And again, please don't be shy. I want open comments and I want open criticism. I want people to ask questions and learn. All right, that being said, we're going to jump right on in and get going. So, if anybody's ever wondered how the degrees of the York, or what's also referred to as the American Rite Masonry, come together, we tend to start at the Blue Lodge. We go through the Royal Arch into the cryptic degrees, and then finally knighting at the Temple, or the Orders of the Temple. So this presentation is going to start us at the Blue Lodge level, and we have to put our mindset as we're in the quarries as a regular Mason. First thing we do is we go through our first 3 degrees: Entered Apprentice, Fellow Craft, and Master Mason. This is going to encompass all of the degrees of the Blue Lodge all the way up. We're also going to deal with a lot of the 7 liberal arts and sciences, specifically a couple during these degrees. After we're passed to the degree of a Fellow Craft Mason, we're told that the 7 liberal arts and sciences, or the trivium, which is grammar, logic, and rhetoric, are followed by the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. We're going to focus primarily on geometry. Can anybody go ahead and say it? Remember to unmute your mic if you need to say it. What is the symbol on this symbol here? What's the primary symbol of an Entered Apprentice Mason? Anybody?
The circle.
Yes, the point within a circle. Thank you, John Bishop. And it's usually emborded by 2 parallel perpendicular lines, but we're going to address those in a bit. First, we're going to use some of our working tools. So go ahead, anybody. What are the working tools of a Fellow Craft Mason? Anybody's allowed to jump on in. This isn't a stumper, guys.
The plumb, the square, and the level.
Thank you. Yes, the plumb, the square, and the level. So which jewel is the Junior Wardens? I don't know if everybody,
Plumb.
the plum, yes. I don't know if everybody's shouting out and forgetting that their mics are muted, but yes, the plum.
I sure was.
All right, what is the plum used for?
Raised horizontals.
In
You're
our
close.
stations, to walk
Raise-
upright in our stations before God. And
Very good, yeah. But John Bishop, you were close. Raising perpendiculars. All right, so now we're going to put a perpendicular in here.
Misspoke myself. Yeah, you're
That's
correct.
okay. So John, I'll ask you this one. What's the jewel of a Senior Warden?
The level.
Right, and what's the level used for?
To lay horizontals.
There you go, to lay horizontal. So we're going to go ahead
we're
and lay it
all equal.
horizontal. Go ahead.
That we're all equal.
Yes, we are definitely. That's one of the primary things. We're all equal. We're on the same level. Absolutely. And then I'll ask open question again. What is the jewel of the worshipful master?
Square.
The square.
The square.
Yep. And what do you use the square for?
Square. Square your work.
The square your work.
The
Check your
square
work.
actions.
Yeah. The square of virtue. That's why I put it in a V shape right there so everybody remembers virtue. But basically, it's for checking your work. So what am I checking when I lay my horizontals and raise my perpendicular in this particular image? It's right in the definition of the square.
Can you repeat that, please?
What am I checking in this particular image with the square? It's in the definition of the square.
That it's 90 degrees.
Yes,
Checking right. Yeah.
absolutely. 90
Squaring your
degrees.
actions.
Yes, squaring your actions for sure. But right now we are checking 90 degrees or
The four parts of
Fourth part of the circle.
there you go, the fourth part of a circle. So one of the secrets of the operative Masons was checking their work. The good old Pythagorean theorem. It's also considered the 47th problem of Euclid. These Masons, these are operative Masons, they knew that if they measured the leg of the first wall, which is denoted here by A, and the leg of the second wall, denoted here by B, that they could measure the hypotenuse and see if their walls were not just aligned, but absolutely perfectly straight. If the math worked, it was perfect. You had a 90-degree angle, your cornerstone, you built the walls with bricks, each direction. That's why when you look at some of these old temples that were built, it's not magic, it's mathematics. It was just measuring and doing the right work, and they did that constantly. Laying one brick was a little bit of a process. You make sure that one brick is exactly where it needs to be, and you can have a perfectly straight wall. They also knew this. This is another Masonic secret of the operative Masonic Masons. They knew they could take a point within a circle, they could bisect it, they could put a point anywhere on that circle, and by drawing a straight line from the bisection points to that point on the circle would create a 90-degree angle every time. So back in the day when most people didn't understand basic geometry, and these Masons did, that's how they knew how to make 90-degree angles, how to make right angles, and how to measure exactly what was going on. So if we're giving out Masonic secrets, you should have paid attention in algebra or in geometry when you were in high school. So we'll go back to this image. We can use the square to make sure that we lay down good horizontal and raise a good perpendicular. So let me just ask a question. What does this image look like, or what's it remind you of?
Gun sight.
Somebody always says gun sight. It does look like a gun sight. Any other ideas what it looks like?
A pie.
Say that one more time.
Pie.
Pie, it does look like pie. That's how we get circumference, for sure. Or apple, depending on what your favorite is, cherry or apple.
Yeah,
It's the four cardinal directions.
Ooh, the what?
Ooh.
Say it again.
Four cardinal directions.
Which is amazing that you would use that specific term, because we're going to get into that in a little bit as well. But it does. Looks like a directional compass. In this case, we're going to use your basic north, south, east, and west. We know the junior wardens in the south. We know the senior wardens in the west, and the worshipful master is in the east. There's nothing in the north. Another thing that you can use this for is a 24-hour clock. The sun rises in the east at about 6 a.m. to open the day. It's at its full strength in the south, midday or noon, and it closes the day out in the evening in the west about 6 p.m. That's roughly what you would consider the perfect day, or perfect time day. Round about 12 a.m., it's absolutely at its darkest. This also applies to the seasons of the year. Spring is representative of the east or the sun rising. South is summer, when the sun's at its highest. Autumn is when the sun is at the close of the day, and winter in the north when the sun is down. And we know this based on the way the planet goes around the sun. The winter solstice is when the planet is in the north, Earth is in the north. Autumn equinox when it's in the west. And these happen right about the 20th or 21st or 22nd of every quarter of the year. So I'm going to ask one other question here. Anybody know what these two particular red lines are?
Meridian.
Say that
The
one more time.
Tropics of Cancer and Capricorn.
Yes, Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. Do you know their significance?
Yes, that is as far north and south as the sun goes. The northern Tropic of Cancer is as far north as the sun gets on the 21st of June. And it is the farthest the sun gets on the 21st of December in the southern latitude and on the Tropic of Capricorn.
Absolutely, 100%.
23 and a half degrees,
Aha, there you
south
go.
and north.
Yep, and we'll get to the 23.5 degrees here in just a
And
second.
Nick, can I go back a second?
Yeah.
A couple slides back when you're showing all the things in the circle and how to make a square. Take another formula and transition it over to from a point to a circle, from a circle to a square, from a square to a plumb, from a plumb to a level.
Yes.
That's how they built their tools.
Yes. The nice thing about, and here's a quote unquote Masonic secret. The nice thing about the plumb, square, and level is you can use any of the three to make one of the other three.
The secrets of the old stonemason.
The secrets of the old stonemasons, absolutely. And that's an allegory in the Blue Lodge as to how the master's word was technically never lost. All right, we're going to continue on from here to exactly what John Bishop told us. The position in the orbit around the sun determines the season of the year. Along with the Earth spinning along its axis, it gives us our day and night cycle. Now, he said 23.5 degrees, and that's exactly right. So when the sun, or when the planet is around about June, the Tropic of Cancer is technically the equator. The Earth is not straight up and down. It's tilted at a 23.5 degree axis. So when the Earth is fully in the south during its trip around the sun, the 23.5 degree axis of the Earth will make the sun's equator across it. Line up with the Tropic of Cancer on the other, or it'll line up with the Tropic of Cancer. When the Earth's on the other side, it lines up with the Tropic of Capricorn. So why is this information important? You also have to remember that we are looking at this specifically from the view of the sun in the temple, from the Temple of Jerusalem, the tabernacle or the temple. So this is all going to be Northern Hemisphere. A lot of people always get confused and are like, well, if you're in Australia, it's different. You're right, it is. But this comes from the perspective of the temple in Jerusalem. So the solstices are denoted by these two lines, which mark the end of the procession. This is where the Earth turns back in the other direction. In other words, these lines right here represent the limitations of the Earth's orbit. Does this look familiar to anybody?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, tell me what it looks like.
Yes. The two columns.
Point within a circle with the two parallel lines.
Yep. Looks like a
The
point within
picture
a
of St.
circle.
John's the Evangelist and St. John the Baptist. That's awesome.
Yes. Looks like the point within a circle and bordered by two parallel perpendicular lines. Interestingly enough, in Blue Lodge Masonry, we're taught that these two lines are representative of St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist, just like you said, the two patron saints of our lodge. Here's a good one. Are you ready? The holidays of each of these patron saints fall on the date very near the solstice points. The Feast of St. John the Baptist falls on June 24th. and the St. John the Evangelist on December 27th. This signifies the two parallel lines which are perpendicular or across from each other as the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. St. John the Baptist on the Tropic of Cancer, if the solstice is the 21st, 3 days, which is a pretty well-known biblical situation, 3 days later, the sun is starting its decline. So June 24th was the day picked. This is actually a Catholic holiday picked by the Catholic Church to be the Feast of St. John the Baptist. Feast of St. John the Evangelist is on December 27th, which is 3 days later than another well-known date picked by the Catholic Church, and it was moved to signify something else in the Catholic religion, which we will get to here in a little bit. Basically, simply put, these constellations signify the season of the year, as well as the Earth's position in orbit around the sun. The constellations, like if you put the point within the circle in the middle, that's the sun, and the Earth rotates around the sun, it goes into these particular positions, which are the constellations that you can actually see in the sky. So you know what particular month or year it is. This is actually denoted in the book of Genesis, where God said he will put signs in the sky to know the day and month and year. I also want to bring this to everybody's attention in our Alaska Monitor. Anybody that knows the lectures knows that there's a couple of parts that are actually skipped from the lectures because they're in the monitor and they're considered you don't actually have to memorize them. It's kind of like if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I'm going to go ahead and read these because they're the parts that most people who memorize the lectures have skipped. The first part in the first degree lecture, the part that people skip is the three lights, like the principal officers and the three principal supports, refer undoubtedly to the three stations of the sun. It's rising in the east, its meridian in the south, and its setting in the west. And thus, the symbolism of the lodge, as a typical of the world, continues to be preserved. That's in our lecture. I don't know why a lot of people don't memorize that part. Second one says Freemasonry, retaining its symbolism, the typical reference of the lodge to the world, and constantly alluding to the sun in its apparent diurnal revolution, imperatively requires, when it can be done, that the lodge should be situated due east and west, so that every ceremony shall remind the Mason of the progress of that luminary. And if anybody's got an Alaska Monitor, go ahead and crack that out and look those up. They're in italics or something like that, basically saying that you don't really have to read them. And there's more. This particular symbol is of great interest and importance. There's so much to be learned from the point within a circle. It brings us into close connection with the early symbolism of the solar orb and of the universe, which was predominant in ancient sun worship. St. John the Baptist was the son of Zacharias and Elizabeth. The day in which is celebrated his honor is June 24th. St. John the Evangelist was Galilean by birth and the son of Zebedee and Salome, and we commemorate him on December 27th. Much of our Masonic symbolism comes from speculative alchemy. Alchemy, like Masonry, has speculative and operative sides. This is a chart of some of the alchemical symbols. Can anybody point out one that looks familiar?
The element.
Which one?
The elements.
The sulfur, the trowel.
Yeah, the elements are definitely familiar. That's a complete different aspect of Masonry. Which one did you say?
The sun.
The sun. And what is the sun?
The point within a circle.
The point within a circle. Alchemical. It's not hard to realize that these particular symbols have deeper seated meaning within other mystery schools and could be carried over to our current Masonic system to have and to utilize the same meanings. Anybody know the name of our sun?
Soul.
Soul. Better call Soul. No, I'm sorry. Not him. Soul. This is where we get the word solar. It comes from an ancient Roman god who personified the sun. But here's the fun part. Sol, an ancient Roman god, like we just said, the sun personified by the Roman god, or what's that? A male given name form of Solomon. We don't know anything about King Solomon, do we? These particular constellations around the sun are referred to as the cardinal points of the zodiac. These points are Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. So what do we mean by cardinal? Anybody?
Those 4 directions.
There are definitely 4 directions. What does cardinal mean?
Primary.
Yep, to coin the phrase, that's pretty much it. Prime importance, chief, principal, or of cardinal significance. Basically, it means the start of the cycle. The 4 points of the zodiac, these cardinal points. Have we ever? Is there another thing in Masonry that we refer to as cardinal?
The virtues.
The 4 cardinal virtues. Absolutely. In our first degree lecture, where the 4 cardinal virtues are explained: prudence, temperance, fortitude, and justice. Let prudence direct you, temperance chasten you, fortitude support you, and justice be the guide of all your actions. Let prudence direct you. Aries is the first point, the path of the sun. It's the starting point. That's where you get directed. Let temperance chasten you. The junior warden in the south is charged with superintending the craftsmen during the hours of refreshment, keeping them chaste or free from excess. Now, if you really want to get deep into this, each one of these cardinal points is assigned to one of the traditional elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. Cancer is a water sign. The lady in the picture is pouring water in order to keep people refreshed. Fortitude, support you. The senior warden in the west is known as the pillar of strength. And fortitude, he supports the worshipful master in his decisions in the east. And the worshipful master's decisions are justice, being the guide of all actions. The worshipful master is charged with making just decisions for the lodge. This is denoted by the scales of balance in Libra, as you can see the cardinal lady holding them there. So we're taught about these virtues in our first degree lecture. So let's go back to the first degree for a moment and take a good look at our square and compasses. Does anyone know the geometrical significance of the square?
That's where you get your 90 degrees, Nick.
Yep, your 90 degrees, or the 4th part of a circle. Anybody know the angle of the compasses?
Variable.
60.
It can be variable. It's usually 60. Absolutely correct. I think the variable comes from when somebody tries to put it on the balance or on top of the Bible, and there's a crease there with nothing to hold the back of the compasses up, so you have to like spread them out in order to get them to lay there correctly. But yeah, generally speaking, it's 60 degrees. That's kind of the idea. And this actually, this is going to throw everybody for a loop, but it comes from something called, from our constellations. I'm going to take you a second here and show you one of the lesser constellations called Monoceros. Mono meaning one, and Ceros meaning horn, basically unicorn. So what does a unicorn have to do with Masonry? That's one of those. That is a stumper question. That's one that I don't think a lot of people can get because we've never brought up directly a unicorn or Monoceros. It's never actually said. But I'm going to move on to constellations. Monoceros is the shape of a square and compasses. And it falls inside the equilateral triangle of Procyon, Betelgeuse, and Sirius. The square is obviously 90 degrees, and the compasses is set a little less than 60, and that's due to the movement of the stars over the years. So this is where we get our concept of square and compasses. So back to what we were talking about before. First is the sign of Cancer. Cancer is representative of the summer solstice. The sun is at its meridian height, which is also representative of the junior warden. Now, this layout's a little tricky because when you take stars and motion into account and you try to draw it on a sheet of paper, it gets on a flat surface, it tends to get a little wonky. But we have Aries at the top representing the east, and we have Cancer representing the south on the west side. I'm going to move things around a bit to make it so people can kind of understand. It really should look like this. It worked kind of. The Cancer, which is the junior warden station, is still at the top, so I have to flip this again one more time to make everything line up correctly. And what it comes down to is the way this works. The Earth is in the east during the vernal equinox, March 21st, the start of spring. The start of spring is technically the start of the year. Our current Julian/Gregorian calendar says the start of the year is January 1st. The Hebrew calendar, the start of the year, with the first of Nisan, was the equinox. This continues to the autumnal equinox in September 21st, the beginning of autumn. It continues further to the winter solstice, December 21st, or the beginning of winter, and finally finishes the revolution around the sun in the east, starting the cycle again. So let's take a close look at the symbol used for Cancer. Does anybody notice anything about this symbol?
It looks like the keystone.
The shape of the symbol does. Stick around for the next part of this presentation, and we'll definitely get into that. Good eye. But what I'm talking about is the symbol at the bottom, where most creepy people, including myself, will say it looks like a 69.
Yeah, the two fishes.
Well, it's Cancer, so it's supposed to be
an
applause.
Okay.
Creeper.
Creeper. Does it look like a Dugard?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And here's another little tidbit. Where do crabs live?
You're getting a little personal, Nick.
I'm good.
In the ocean.
That's a little creepy. They live
on the floor.
That sounds like personal experience.
Yeah.
I've never had crabs, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. They live in the sands of the sea.
At low water mark.
At low water mark. So we're going to continue on. We're going to raise one of the legs of the compasses to signify the second degree. When we raise this leg, what's it pointing at?
Sagittarius.
Right, Sagittarius. Take a good close look at the image and the sign of Sagittarius. It's an archer, holding his bow at 90-degree angle with his right arm, pulling his bowstring back across his breast with his left hand. Does this remind you of anything else?
We're getting into it now.
Now we're getting into it. Here's another crazy one. What do archers hunt?
Deer.
People.
Deer, yeah, sure.
Animals.
Anybody from
Game.
Alaska better say moose.
Yeah. It's a member of the deer family.
Well, archers in that particular time period, they hunted beasts of the field and birds of the air as a prey. And then if we raise the next point of the compasses above the square, this leg points directly at Leo.
Leo.
And Leo is, this one doesn't take a lot of thought. It's right there in the picture. It's pretty obvious. What does the lion of the tribe of Judah represent? Well, I won't say anything particular, but I will say that he's sticking out something for everybody to look at.
A particular
little
grip.
handshake.
Yes, there you go. Well,
The strong grip.
The strong grip, absolutely. That wraps up the quarry, and we're going to go ahead and suspend labor in the quarry. The next presentation will be the arch, and that will be, again, like I said, on We're not doing it on the 4th of July because people got stuff to do, but that'll be on the 11th of July, again at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to continue with the information we learned in the Quarry to persist with what we learned in the Arch. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to open discussion. And if anybody would like to make comments or has anything to say, please, by all means, raise your hand and we can go from there. Joseph Smith, by all means, go ahead.
First and foremost, can I get a copy of that slideshow?
I will have a complete copy of the whole thing when it's done, yes.
Awesome.
If you want to
Awesome.
turn
You did very well.
If you want to turn your camera on for this as well so we can get your picture in there. Because like I said, this is being recorded. If not, that's fine. Anybody else would like to speak? Have anything to say? Vic? Oh, John Bishop, go ahead.
Well, we didn't mention when we were talking about summer solstice and so on, but in the first degree lecture, the sun was so far north, the King Solomon's temple was so far north of the ecliptic that neither the sun nor the moon. Well, King Solomon's temple is about 5 degrees north of the Tropic Capricorn. If I remember right, it's around 28 or 29 degrees north. So the sun never got where it could shine in the northern side of the building.
Absolutely correct.
You know, one thing when you were talking about the tropics, I mean, we have the Stewart's rods around the Junior Warden station, which if the Junior Warden's kind of the movement of the sun, well, if you look at the jewel on the Stewart's, it's the horn of plenty or the horn of Capricorn.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
We have another little solar thing in there as well.
What about the position of the deacons as they walk back and forth, forming a perimeter of the point within a circle or the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, I just wanted to say this was amazing. Nick, I just wanted to say this is amazing. Like, this is one of the best, like, study halls I've ever been to. I mean, like, my mind was blown, like, every single time you added in another emblem, and I'll definitely be at the next one. So I really appreciate Joe for inviting me.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, it continues on further. Well, let me ask you a crazy question. You're a Master Mason? Are you in the York Rite?
Yeah, I'm all the way. I've done all the houses: Scottish,
okay.
York, Shrine, and I'm past at all the houses as well.
I'll just go on the record saying this. When I first became a Mason, I was very, very inquisitive about the symbols and things like that around the lodge. We have a little thing that pulls down from the wall that the whoever's doing the lecture will point to things on the square and compasses or the plumb level square. They'll point to the sword at the heart, the beehive, all the symbols. And I always wanted to know what those meant. And as I asked around the lodge when I first became a Master Mason, I said, well, what's the plum represent? And the answer I got was, well, the plum represents the Junior Warden. But what does the Junior Warden represent? Well, the Junior Warden represents the plum. Well, I'm going to get a lot of information this way. So what I found was not that people weren't aware of these kind of things when they saw them. It was that people didn't have them at the forefront of their mind. So the idea is for this type of presentation to bring this to the forefront of everybody's mind, let them know what's going on so they can actually, when they see that kind of thing happen in Lodge, they know what the reference is to the grand thing as a whole. It's the esoteric side of Masonry, and that's the part I'm very much interested in. So thank you very much for your comments. Thanks for coming, and I'll be glad to see you in 2 weeks.
You know, one night after I had done the first degree lecture at Matanuska 7, Nick turned to me and he said, You know, I was thinking of something. The point within the circle could represent balance. Well, a point within the circle happens to be one of my favorite parts of the lectures, and I think it's extremely significant. Uh, and I thought about that, and of course, the lodge is over, and there's a lot going on. I didn't think about it too much then. About 2:30 in the morning, I sat straight up in bed and said, "Holy shit!" I saw all kinds of stuff in what Nick has said, and it keeps expanding. But you think about the way that that is described. The point represents the individual brother. The two perpendicular lines, you could say, are limitations. And the book of the law, and we always refer to that as the holy book on the altar. But you can apply this to everything in life. The book of the law, let's say, in your marriage, is your contract with your wife and your family, and you stay within certain bounds. Oh yeah, everybody can discuss things. You get outside those two perpendicular lines, you lose reference to your basic principles of law, and you become extreme, and you don't even hear the other side of the argument. Uh, look at that you look at that in any aspect of life. Politics are a great example of it. When you're outside the circle, you're not seeing the full picture. You're not taking into consideration anything except the extreme where you're living. So I think the point within the circle has tremendous reference.
Basically, you're saying subdue your passions.
Stay within the circle is subduing your passions.
Absolutely. Technically speaking, astronomically speaking, the point within a circle is balance. If you want to get real scientific, the gravity from the sun keeps the planets rotating around it in a specific pattern. So we have standard seasons, although in Alaska this year, I think it's just winter all year round.
Mother Nature is very geometrically balanced, and that is the great design of the universe, far beyond anything any knowledgeable person or super educated person will ever fully understand.
Yeah. Anybody
Nick,
else?
my phone was kind of cutting out in and out, so I apologize. If you I thought I saw you draw one of the slides like the and this is a reference to the point uh the dot of the circle is that's how they created the ancient clocks, right? So they put the point in the middle of the circle, and then they would draw a circle, and then according to where the sun was at throughout the day, that's how they kind of created the clock. Didn't you go over something like that, or am I just imagining this?
No, what I had in this particular presentation is a 24-hour clock.
Okay,
So 24 at the top, 24 and 0 at the top, and
What?
clockwise
yeah,
around. It will actually get into more detail when we talk about a sundial in the Royal
okay,
Arch.
got it. All right, good.
Anybody else? No other questions or comments? Well, then I'll ask a
Great
question.
job, Nick. Great
Oh,
job.
thank you. I'll go ahead and ask a question. And like I was saying to Vic, is when I first became a Mason, I didn't, I asked people these questions and nobody could really answer these things. So I started doing the studying on my own. Um, Anybody else have these? I mean, before this presentation, did you have any idea that the whole concept of astronomy, being the top of the seven liberal arts and sciences, would play so deeply into the structure of our lodge? Was anybody aware of these kind of things beforehand?
Can you repeat the questions again, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. When I first came into Masonry, like I said to Vic, there was questions I had that people couldn't answer. Astronomy being the top of the 7 liberal arts and sciences, did anybody did anybody see the astronomical setup or how Masonry is designed when they first came into the lodge or when they became a Master Mason? Is this something you found through study, something that somebody talked to you about at the lodge? Did you know any of this?
No pun intended.
Unfortunately,
did not know
go
that.
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
Oh no, it's just I saw it funny you say astronomical, but no, none of this really connected for me. Of course, I'm fairly new.
That's fine. I think it's good to get it when you're fairly new. Who said unfortunately? I didn't see the name.
Oh, that was me, Nick.
Oh, go ahead.
So, unfortunately, these are things that we have gotten away from over the years, and it's quite refreshing. You know, it took, much like you, it took me a long time and a lot of reading on my own to get to some of the conclusions and the things I've learned. And I think we need to focus more on this and the spirituality involved in Masonry, much like, you know, John May and myself were talking about the other day, is we're slowly getting away from that. And it seems as though the population of Masons is declining as well as we get away from these teachings. So I think this is a very important thing that you're doing, and it is going to help foster a better climate within our organization.
Thank you. One
Yeah,
of the
you know,
things. Oh, go ahead, John.
on that same token, I was extremely fortunate. I was raised down in Washington before I got back up here, but I had the very good fortune of a coach that introduced me to a lot of things, especially right after I got, well, he had me visiting other lodges all the time, but after I became a Master Mason, he got me involved in things that started opening my mind. But he also hooked me up early on with a couple of mentors that lived in the retirement home that is no longer down in Washington. And some of those guys were my mentors, and they would go into this kind of thing, and they would cause me to go and think about it. And then I'd see them a week or two later, and they'd open the discussion again to see where I'd went with it. And that the point you're making, that where we're losing it is we coach people to memorize something that they don't, and they never take time to understand it. And when I have coached, I try to spend a lot of time. There is no hurry to get the guy through all 3 degrees, with exceptions if somebody's in the military and about to be deployed to a combat zone in particular. Yeah, we want him to be a Master Mason when he leaves, but the coaches need to be going into this. Masonry is not the memorization of some catechism. What you are memorizing and learning is only to open your mind into deeper meanings and to all those rabbit holes and your own train of thought, which can be entirely different from somebody else. That's what a good coach and mentor should be, to open a person's mind to think about it, all the various symbology in each degree. And you're right, that's where we're losing it.
Hey Nick, can I bring it back to the question that you had about the astrological stuff? A few years ago, a brother who was down in Arizona that I knew back in high school recommended a book called Stellar Theology and Masonic
Masonic
Astrology
astronomy.
from
Yeah.
Robert Hewitt Brown. It goes really deep into the third degree and kind of all of the astronomy related in it. It's a fascinating book from about 1830s, 1850s, somewhere around that era, Civil War era.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic book. Doing these presentations and doing the research actually led me to that book, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, if anybody is interested in that, that's a fantastic book. Could you put the name of the book in the chat so everybody can see it if they want to get a copy?
Absolutely.
And Pierre, you had something you wanted to say? No? Okay, well, anybody else?
A question for you, Nick.
Sure.
We talk in each degree Holy Saint John, and will we explore that topic and the significance and the importance of that? And do we give them recognition on the 24th of June, as a Mason's symbolism?
Yeah, the feast of St. John the Baptist on the 24th of June is it's a Catholic holiday. Basically, it's commemorating that particular person on that particular day. What we see in Masonry is what we went over here beforehand, which is, how it lines up with the solstice and progresses us or through the progression of the equinoxes. Um, I actually have a complete different presentation on quote unquote the Lodge of the Holy Saints John and its origins. I'm probably not going to get into the origins of that in this in the further presentations here, but I can do that a presentation on the origins of the Blue Lodge and the origins of the Holy Saints John at a different time. But it may be a little while because I got the next 6 weeks set aside.
Cool beans. Thank you.
You bet. When we do that through ALB, I will let everybody know. I will give you a heads up though. My presentation on the Lodge of the Holy Saints John is a long one. Today we're barely cruising an hour, and that's with discussion. I try to keep it short because you know how people's attention spans are. But with this presentation there's a lot of build up and a lot of explanation.
Hey Nick, for those in the chat that don't really know, could you give a rundown on ALB and kind of the purpose and direction that it's going?
Well, I'll tag team this one with John May. The concept, and if he wants to fill in any blanks after I explain it, he's certainly welcome to. The concept of Academia Lux Borealis, academia meaning university or education, lux meaning light, borealis meaning northern lights. So Academia Lux Borealis's purpose is to educate Masons on things that you normally don't get within the Blue Lodge. A lot of Blue Lodge meetings are just that. They're meetings. Hey, we got to pay our electric bill. Hey, we got onion sales coming up. Hey, there's a parade this weekend. And most places don't really get into the esoteric or understanding of what Masonry is really all about. I saw a video the other day that kind of blew my mind because I heard Masonry in it and wasn't intended to be Masonry. A gentleman said to a single mother, um, the mother said, what do I do to help my son grow up to be a good man? And the guy says, well, he does need a father figure or a mentor in his life because what you want is a good man, not a nice guy. And I went, wow, that hit me right in the feels. He nailed it right on point. The idea of Masonry is to make good men better. If I tried to sit down and explain the Royal Arch or Blue Lodge Masonry to somebody that was not a good man, it's not going to work very well. This is higher level education. It's things that bad people don't have the time for. And I'm not trying to break it down in a good or bad type of person because, look, I work at a probation office. I deal with bad people all the time. And I can tell some of these people that they're struggling just to be a regular person, not even a good person, just regular, obeying the laws, not going back to jail, getting rid of drug problems, things like that. These people struggle for that. So if I sat down with one of these people and tried to explain to them, the point within a circle, it's beyond their comprehension. I mean, they kind of get it, but they won't apply it correctly. Masons are good men and good men that are trying to be better. It's a higher level education. So the focus of Academia Lux Borealis is to bring higher level education to Masons across the state of Alaska, and anybody else who'd like to join. We have one gentleman that joins from, is it Bulgaria? Is
We
that where he's
have an
calling in from?
American brother that's in Bulgaria. We have an Italian brother that's coming in from Romania. They're tuning in at all hours to get in there.
I heard a rumor about some Canadian brothers.
Yeah, we got Canadian brothers that are showing interest after this last trip to BC Yukon's Grand Lodge. We've got brothers from around the country that are coming into our meetings, which is great. We're getting exposure. But I could also go into the kind of the history of how we got started as well, Nick, if you like.
Absolutely, John. Tag team and go for it.
So, just about 10 years ago, we started getting together for a research and education weekend retreat. And this will be our 10th year. We meet at the Tunsina River Lodge, and the food's good. The rooms are nice. There's great fishing. There's lots of trails. So it's not just sitting around inside the lodge room, sitting through presentations and discussion. We get out, we do things. So we go fishing. We have a campfire. We'll go four-wheeling. There's a lot to see back there. But then we also have some really good presentations. We have some great discussion. And of the festive boards that I've been to in Alaska / table lodges, we do the best in the state. We really do. So that is September 18th through 20th this year. And that's how we got started. And we just started meeting each fall like that. And then after a while, we started working on getting together research lodge for Alaska. So we worked to get resolutions to amend the code, the Alaska Masonic Code, so we could actually exist as a research lodge. Nice thing about us is we keep the business to a minimum, and we don't have to worry about paying per capita. So the dues that we have coming in, we set that aside, hopefully for the future, that we could start bringing some really outstanding guest speakers. But we have had quite a few that have video conferenced in with us for it. Typically, each of our meetings, we try to have a presentation. If we don't have a presentation, we'll land on a discussion topic, and it's a moderated discussion topic. And usually with those discussion topics, the idea is that the brethren will do a little bit of work in advance to read up on the topic or come in with some knowledge of what we're going to be discussing. This next one coming up is morality, so it's fairly well wide open. And the big thing with ALB is if you're showing up and you feel like you're kind of drowning in the topic, please raise your hand and ask a question, because there's probably other folks that might be drowning in a topic as well and need to get some context and reference as to what's being discussed. It's not the concept here is not to make someone feel stupid, but it's to build up the knowledge base of Alaska Masons, and well, any Mason for that matter that wants to join in our labors. So ask your questions, because it helps bring more context to the discussion. It helps you learn, and it helps you actually get engaged in the overall program. And that's what we want. We really want to see people grow. And our hope for the future is that we're going to really start getting more brethren involved, getting them engaged. And we have the groundwork laid for a mentoring program to actually mentor and develop future Masonic researchers and writers. And down the line, hopefully we start pumping out an annual periodical of our research, of our work. And I'll turn it over to Joe Smith.
Actually, let me put Joe on hold for just a second. I just want to address a couple things that John May said about ALB. Helping people with their presentations or their research or anything that they're doing. The other thing that we do that's paramount is if you produce a paper or research project, we want to make sure that you are the person that gets the credit for it. Unfortunately, things can be stolen pretty easily, and this even happens in regular academic circles through universities and things, we make sure that you, the writer or the presenter, gets credit for that particular publication. And that's one of the focuses of ALB. So if John Bishop has a presentation on how to fly a 747, we're going to make sure he gets credit for it. All right, go ahead, Joseph.
So, if a brother were so inclined, who would they speak to about becoming a member of ALB?
Hi, I'm Nick Adair. How you doing?
I can certainly drop you a petition. We actually have 2 classes of membership. So, regardless of where you fall within membership, the dues are the same. The way it works is typically you'll start off as an associate member. Associate members, well, let's talk about full membership. Full membership, there's an attendance requirement, and there's also a requirement to produce at least one presentation or paper every 3 years. Your full members make up the principal officers of the lodge, and they'll have the voting rights. Associate member, there's no attendance requirement. There's no paper requirement, but they don't have the voting rights. The reason why we did this is to try to keep this a purely research lodge. Some research bodies start, and you'll have a bunch of folks flock in to join, and it turns into either a card holders club and or a dinner club, because the right to vote is so freely given. So our focus is to try to keep it to those brothers that are truly doing the work, and that's kind of where that's at. Actually, it's not kind of where it's at. That's exactly where it's at. So we try to keep things pure. But if you're just getting into Masonic research, Masonic study, associate membership is a good way to go. And if you decide you want to start producing works and papers, we'll gladly help you with that program. We do have a peer review process, and the idea is that it's not to shoot down research; it's to actually help, steel sharpens steel. So it's to help build you up and to help you get deeper into your research, help you get more out of it as well.
So I have a question about it, because I'm going to make a long story short. I met Joe because we were both part of Arctic Lodge, Prince Hall. And then obviously Joe is now with State Grand, which I'm very appreciative that he stuck around in Masonry. But I still am Prince Hall, but I'm located in North Carolina. So is that membership open to us? I mean, the state of Alaska does recognize Alaska, North Carolina, but I just wanted to ask.
Absolutely. Membership's open. If your Grand Lodge is an amity with us, and North Carolina, Prince Hall, North Carolina, Prince Hall, Alaska are both an amity with Grand Lodge of Alaska, absolutely.
Nick, if you could throw your email in the chat, I'd love to email you and begin my process, because this was phenomenal. So I could only imagine the rest of it is going to be great as well. Thank you.
You bet.
I would like to say something else for those of you that don't know Nick before today. He started something when he was a young Mason, and you can correct me where I'm wrong, Nick. I may miss a few points or one thing or another, but he started doing Masonic education at Matanuska Lodge number 7, which it has become a very significant part of every stated meeting. And once the lodge is open, whatever degree we happen to open on, one of the very first orders of business is Masonic education, which he does in the Socratic method, trying to draw people into it, and he's excellent at that. But it has done a great thing for attendance at the lodge. My numbers, we have somewhere a little over 80 members of the lodge, half of which do not live in the state of Alaska year round, at least. So we have somewhere around 41 or 42 members that live in Alaska and within a reasonable distance of the lodge, within the length of their cable tow. And we have, and you figure there's probably 4 or 5 of those for health reasons or other reasons couldn't make lodge, so they're outside of it. And we have about 19 or 20 brothers attending just about every meeting, which is 50% of those that are within the length of their cable tow. And compared to national averages, that is one fantastic attendance. And a large part of it is Masonic education, an open forum discussion. And we try to limit it to what, 20 or 30 minutes, Nick?
We try to stay within 20 or 30 minutes. Unfortunately, the discussion, like what happened here, the presentation was done about 8:30, 8:40, and we were having more of a conversation afterwards. The conversation tends to go a little further. The only comment I would make on this, and because it still happens at Matanuska Lodge number 7, as it will happen at any Masonic lodge where people want to bring in education. There's going to be a lot of discussion about when to do it. Most masters and most of the lodge brethren are going to tell you to do it at the end of the night. What happens when you do it after all the business is done and you start doing Masonic education, if it starts to go long, everybody's staring at the clock going, come on, I want to get out of here. So we moved it to the beginning of the meeting. We open, we do sickness and distress, joy and happiness, and then we go straight into Masonic education. And then if it goes a little long, once we're done with that meeting and everybody's talking business, most of the business can be done outside the lodge. But I mean, realistically, most business is done via email anyway. People start looking at the clock, going, "Okay, let's get this business over with so we can get done." And then announcements, for some reason, always seems to be the biggest or the longest portion of our stated meeting. That tends to go a little long as well. But if you move it to the beginning of the lodge meeting, it tends to go a lot smoother. Matter of fact, when I was master of the lodge first time, my junior warden was Mr. Ron Young, who is here watching the presentation today. I will ask him what he thought about moving education to the beginning of the meeting and how he liked it or it affected the meetings. Go ahead, Ron. Oh, you're muted.
There we go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I would agree with you. Moving it to the beginning, it does seem to go a little better. There's more participation. Like you said, they're not getting antsy, getting ready to, let's go. Have to get out of here. There seemed to be even a little bit more participation. So, yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
Thank you, Ron. Another thing, another technique I would like to tell everybody is, like he said, participation. If everybody noticed at the beginning of this presentation, when I asked a question, there was like a tumbleweed rolled through. Somebody has to break the ice. I don't know why it is this way, but it is. Somebody has to be the first to speak. Usually, if somebody doesn't speak, I will call on somebody to get that happen. Because once somebody speaks, it's like a subliminal thing. Everybody else then feels okay to speak, but you got to break the ice with one person. Fortunately, I have John Bishop to break the ice most times. And I will call on him, or he usually has something to say. It tends to help out quite a bit. But one thing you can do is you can go around the room and you can ask simple questions that people are not afraid to answer. Like when I ask a question, what is the jewel of the senior warden? Everybody knows the answer to that. You get somebody to break the ice, and all of a sudden you have an open discussion. All right. Well, if anybody else has any other comments, let's go ahead and do that. If not, it's been about an hour and 30 minutes. Justin, you have something you want to say? Or no, your name just popped up in the middle of my screen.
No, right on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Since this meeting was recorded, Academia Lux Borealis does have a YouTube channel. And this, I believe, John May, this is going to show up on the YouTube channel.
Yes, Nick. If I could either get you you should have access, or
I do,
or you could email it to me and I could upload it.
Yeah, I have access. I'll go ahead and upload it. But takes when you upload something to YouTube, YouTube has to like transcode it or something. It takes a little while, so it'll probably be up either tomorrow or the next day, and we'll have John May send out the link directly to it. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, Nick, what,
You can find us online
just
at
a quick question before we go.
academialuxborealis.org, and it's got more information about us.
Yep. Pierre, you had something to say?
I did, yes. Where do we go to get that link?
Like I said, we'll
Is it gonna
email
be
it,
emailed
or
to
it'll be
us,
on
or-
it'll be on academialuxborealis.com.
.org.
.org. My bad.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yep. Everybody have themselves a fantastic weekend. Hopefully we didn't take up too much of your day, about an hour or so in the morning, and hope to see you in 2 weeks.
Happy
Thanks,
early
brothers.
4th of July.
Happy
Yes, have a
4th,
great 4th of
everybody.
July.
God bless America. Thanks, Nick.
Happy belated St. John's Day.
There you go.
There you go.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, Nick.
Well done.